Hello everyone, my name is Matt, and today I'm going to show you all how to upgrade the Silverquill Influence Precon. I'm going to try a new format today. Normally I would go over every card in the deck, then I would show a different deck that had all the upgrades and things like that. Instead, I think that I'm going to go through the deck, make my cuts, and then make the upgrades all in one deck, just so you can see why I've cut what I've cut and my reasoning for adding the cards that I did. So without further ado, I'm going to start going through the deck. I'll point out cards that I'm cutting and why I'm cutting them, and then I'll add in the new cards one at a time. Arcane Signet, Soul Ring, Talisman of Hierarchy, and Felwar Stone. Um, they're all mana rocks, obviously. I'm going to cut the Felwar Stone because I think they're better mana rocks. I don't have to. I don't want to have to rely on my opponents to have the colors that I need, so I'm going to cut that and add in something better. In this deck, it seems to go in three different directions. Killian, he wants us to have auras out so that he can good things and that you can draw cards. The deck has quite a few auras, but also has a lot of cards that make tokens. It has kind of like this go wide aura Voltron politic mishmash of things that it's trying to do. I'm going to be cutting cards that make tokens and focus on the politicking. I'll cut the politic cards. I'm just going to focus on Aura Voltron because I think that's the better strategy. So I'm going to cut Ajani's Chosen because it makes tokens. Archon of Sun's Grace is in the same boat. It makes tokens whenever you an enchantment you control enters. That's not really what I want to be doing in the deck. Armored Skyhunter is a great card for this deck because whenever it attacks, you get to look for auras. So it's not exactly a tutor, but it's pretty close, and it lets you put auras on the battlefield. So we're keeping this. Brina's Demigod does not do auras. It's kind of one of those politic cards that draws cards. Yeah, it has card draw, but Killian does most of that for you. The 1/1 counters that it does, this is not really a 1/1 counter deck, and I don't think that it's really working with the strategy that I want. Combat Calligrapher. This is another one of those things can't attack you, and it makes tokens, so I'm going to get rid of it. Facing Dust Mage is a great card because it does let you draw cards, and it does drain your opponents, but it's not doing anything with enchantments. It's not doing anything with auras, so I'm going to get rid of it. Doomwake Giant is a great card. You could conceivably keep it because it does do something with enchantments. It can get rid of creatures on the board. I have put a different Constellation black card in there in my deck. So I did cut this, but if you wanted to keep it, you definitely could. So I'm going to put this in the maybe board instead of just cutting it. Eidolon of Countless Battles is another great card. It has Bestow. It does pump your creatures up. I think it's a little expensive for the Bestow cost, so I cut it. But this is another one of those cards that you could keep. So I will put it in the maybe board. Firemane Commando. This is one of those 2 or more creatures drawing cards. It's a good card. I don't like that it lets your opponents draw cards, so I cut it from my deck. Hateful Eidolon is fantastic. A 1-cost, 1/2 lifelink. that draws you a card whenever your creatures with auras die. So that is staying. Herald of Amity. This is another one of the tutor-like cards. It's not quite a tutor, but when it enters, you exile the top 8 cards of your library, and you can cast an aura from among those cards for free. And it gets +X, or X is the number of auras you control. So this is staying. Keen Duelist. I don't know why this is in there at all. You're probably going to be losing a lot of life from your opponents, because they're probably going to have a higher mana value spell than you, because this is not really a high CMC deck. So this is getting cut. Core Spirit Dancer. I might have skipped Killian. Killian, he's got lifelink and menace, so he's a good aura holder, whatever you want to call it. He can be, but he can carry your auras, and he makes them cost 2 less. So he's staying. Core Spirit Dancer gets +2/+2 for each aura and draws cards, so that's staying. Mangara is another one of those politicking things where you draw cards. It doesn't really fit with the strategy that we're going for, so you're going. Niles. This is another one of the +1/+1 counters. It can act as kind of like a sphere of safety, but I would rather just have sphere of safety because it's harder to get rid of an enchantment than a creature. So I'll cut him. He's not bad. He could be actually in the maybe category. Pearl Ear has lifelink, has your enchantments get infinity for auras. Affinity, not infinity. And whenever you cast an aura that casts that targets a modified permanent you control, draw a card. So he's perfect. He's staying. Scriv has flying and death touch, and he creates auras when he enters or attacks. So it's a free aura generator, so you're also staying. Shadrix, you don't really do anything with auras. You create a token and you can put counters on things, but I'm not really looking to do that in this deck. Stram draws cards, perfect. Starfield Mystic makes things cost less. Tomic, you're another one of those, whenever 2 or more things get attacked, something happens. Not what I'm looking for. And Transcendent Envoy makes auras cost less, so this is staying. Angelic Destiny, this is a great card. It does return to your hand when an enchanted creature the enchanted creature dies, but it's 4 mana, and that's kind of expensive. And I'm trying to lower the mana value of the deck. So, you could keep this if you wanted to. I just think there are better enchantments that cost less. Animate Dead has a lot of words, but it gets something back from the graveyard. And recursion is always something that I put a high value on. Plus, it only costs 2 mana. So I'm going to keep this in the deck. It's a very good card. Chains of Custody. You get to exile a target non-land permanent and opponent controls. So this is a good piece of removal, so it's going to stay. Changing Loyalty is a new card. It's insane. 1 in a black, it has flash, you can replicate it. And whenever the enchanted creature dies, return it to the battlefield under your control. That's going to stay. Course of Impetus is also new. It's another goad enchantment. And whenever the enchanted creature draws a card, attacks, you draw a card and lose a life. So we'll keep this because we want these goad enchantments. Dark Steel Mutation is another good. It's not quite removal, but it gets rid of something threatening on the board, and we're going to keep it. Eldrazi Conscription is a good finisher. It's a gives your creature 10/10, trample, and annihilator 2. Fallen Idol is something that I cut from my deck. Um, I'm not really looking to sacrifice my creatures since I got rid of the tokens, and I don't want to give my opponents the ability to sacrifice their creatures to pump up their own things. So I ended up removing this. Flickering Ward is great. Enchant creature as it enters, choose a color. Enchanted creature has protected from the chosen color. This effect doesn't remove the aura, and you can pay 1 white to return this to its owner's hand. Forum Filibuster is a card that I really want to like. It's 5 mana. At the beginning of your upkeep, you create a 2/1 Inkling creature token, and you get to return an aura or equipment and attach it to the token. This is, if I were going for a go wide token strategy, I would include this, but that's not really what I'm trying to do. I will put this in the maybe category. If you like the go wide strategy, you can definitely keep it, but I'm not. I know people are going to say that I'm crazy, but I also got Ghostly Prison. I replaced it with Spear. God damn it, Sphere of Safety. I think that it's a better protection spell. If someone builds up a huge creature, they can just pay 2 damage and hit you in the face. Pay 2 and hit you in the face. I think Sphere of Safety is a little bit more prohibitive in the amount of mana they have to pay, and so I chose that instead. I kept all of the impetus cards since they goad creatures, and I think that uh, Ghoulish Impetus is probably my favorite one because it returns to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step when the enchanted creature dies. Gift of Immortality is great. We're going to keep that. Intermediate Chirography. I'm going to pronounce that as Chirography. I removed this. It creates tokens and puts 1/1 counters on things. And once again, that's not really what we're trying to do. Land tax, I would be crazy to cut that. It's staying right where it is. Again, we're keeping all the impetus cards. So Parasitic Impetus also stays. Rafine's Guidance, it is very cheap. It is a good card, and you can return it to the grave from the graveyard. But I think there are better 1 mana auras, so I'm going to cut that one. Redemption Arc is another goad card, so we definitely kept that. Sage's Reverie can draw us a whole bunch of cards, and it gives us +1/+1 for each aura we control, so we can keep that. Screams from Within. This is 3 mana to give something -1/-1. There are better auras out there. Same with Sentinel's Eyes. I cut this because I think there are better 1 mana cards. So I cut it. There's nothing else to say about it. There's better options. Sheltered by Ghosts. It's okay. This is one of those maybe cards. It's not bad, but I'm looking for more aggressive auras. So I'm going to put this in the maybe category. You could keep it, but I think there are better options. Shielded by Faith. Once again, 3 mana to make something indestructible. I'm not super impressed by it. Songbird's Blessing stays because It basically lets us look for an aura every time we attack. And Spirit Mantle stays because it makes us unblockable, because it gives us protection from creatures. Ink Shield, we cut. 5 mana is too much mana to hold up. The rest of these cards are fantastic, though. Secret Rendezvous I cut because I don't want to give my opponents cards. And Promise of Loyalty I cut because it's 5 mana. Winds of Wrath is a one-sided board wipe, so we can keep that. I cut quite a few of the lands as well. I cut War Room. I cut the Cycling Land. I cut 3 swamps and 3 plains. Form of Amity I also cut. And I think the Desolate Mire. Okay, we're ready to start adding things. The first thing that I added was Helm of the Gods. Helm of the Gods is a 1 mana equipment. It equips for 1. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each enchantment you control. Hopefully you're going to be controlling a lot of enchantments, so that should be a pretty decent buff. I'm just doing this off the top of my head. Light Pause, Emperor's Voice. He's 1 and a white for a 2/2 Fox Advisor. Whenever an aura you control enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you can search your library for an aura card with a mana value less than or equal to the aura with a different name for each aura you control. So basically, if he's on the battlefield and you cast an aura, you get to tutor another aura that has equal or lesser mana value. So I don't know why he wasn't included, other than I was told that Wizards of the Coast does not like to include tutors in their decks, but hey, he should be an auto-include for this deck. Let's look for some enchantments. It's not Celestial Armor. Ethereal Armor. Ethereal Armor is 1 cost enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each enchantment you control and has first strike. Now I'm going to be adding in some cards that are kind of expensive. I'm not telling you to proxy them, but I'm not telling you to proxy them. There are quite a few legendary creatures in the deck, and a 0 cost mana rock is always going to be welcome in my decks. Nykthos is a legendary land. You can tap it to add 1 colorless, or you can pay 2, choose a color, and add to your mana pool an amount of mana equal to your devotion to that color. There's a lot of white in this deck, and there's a lot of black in this deck. So you should be able to create quite a bit of mana through Nykthos. I'll add in a finisher. I'll add in a finisher. Super State, enchant. It's a 7 cost enchantment, legendary aura. Enchanted creature you control. Enchanted creature has base power and toughness 9/9 and has flying, first strike, trample, and haste. Whenever the enchanted creature deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each opponent. So this is going to be a good way to finish out games for you. Especially if you have Spirit Mantle on whatever you enchant, then it's unblockable. Let's see. I always like to have a little bit of graveyard hate in my deck. Agent of Erebos is 3 and a black for a 2/2 enchantment creature zombie. Whenever Agent of Erebos or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, exile all cards from target player's graveyard. Another good creature to include would be Hero of Aroas, 1 and a white for a 2/2, or a spell's cost 1 less. Whenever you cast a spell that targets Hero of Aroas, put a 1/1 counter on him. He's another good option to load up with enchantment or with auras. Onto Spirit Dancer, 4 and a white. Whenever an enchantment you control enters, you may create a token that's a copy of it. Do this only once to each turn. You should be able to make an enchantment copy of every enchantment in your deck other than Super State, since it's a legendary. But you could make a copy of Eldrazi Conscription, which is not legendary, so having 2+10/+10 Trample Annihilator 2 auras seems like a good deal to me. Speaking of making copies, add a Gaia Windswept Bastion. I know that this is a little bit slower since you have to crew it or station it to 12, but once you get some enchantments on your creatures, that shouldn't be too hard to do. But it's a land that comes into play tapped. You can tap it for white, and once it's fully stationed, you can pay 3 and a white, tap it, and create a token copy of a target artifact or enchantment you control, except it's legendary, and you can only do it as a sorcery. Marsh Flat and Godless Shrine. Having a fetch land and a pain land that comes in untapped, that'll help out. I really try to remove as many tapped lands from the Precon mana base as I can. I'll be adding in more lands a little bit later. I'm forgetting one thing, one creature. Oh yeah. Zinc. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it. 2 white for a legendary human knight, 2/4 double strike. Or as you control have exalted. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each instance of its exalted among permanents you control. So he encourages you to load up a creature with a bunch of enchantments or a bunch of auras, swing out, and then they get a bunch of instances of +1/+1 for each aura they control or that's attached to it, which should not be too hard to do. Another little enchantment that I like is called Death Watch. It's 1 black mana. If enchanted creature is put into any graveyard, that creature's controller loses an amount of life equal to its power, and you gain life equal to its toughness. So if someone has a huge creature out like Galta or whatever, enchant it with this. When it dies, they'll lose 12 life. You'll gain 12 life. Another good enchantment is Visions of Brutality. 1 and a black, enchanted creature can't block. Whenever enchanted creature deals damage, its controller loses that much life. All That Glitters. One in a white, enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact and enchantment or enchantment you control. And a similar card, one in a white for another aura, enchant creature. Enchanted creature has, whenever this creature attacks alone, it gets +X/+X until the end of the turn, where X is the number of non-land permanents you control. So we have a lot of ways to pump up our own creatures. I have Nidhogg. There we go. Another way to goad. Two and a black enchant creature, enchanted creatures, black dragon with base power and toughness 4/2, and has flying and death touch and is goaded. When I have Nidhogg, it's put into a graveyard from anywhere, return it to its owner's hand. So this is a nice recurring goad enchantment. Another one that I like is Nurgle's Rot. Enchant a creature an opponent controls. When an enchanted creature dies, return Nurgle's Rot to its owner's hand, and you create a 1/3 black demon creature token named Plaguebearer of Nurgle. I know this is a token maker, and I'm not really. This is not really a token deck, but it does serve as recurring goad because of Killian, and it makes a 1/3 token. I mean, I don't really care about that, but it's pretty good. The price had shot up a lot. It was only a few dollars when I bought it. I have Nidhogg is still relatively cheap. The last time I looked, $7. It's gone up a little bit too. To finish out our enchantment section, Sigarda's Aid. Lets us cast our auras as if they had flash, which means you can make any of them combat tricks. And there was one more. Mantle of the Ancients. Enchant creature you control. When Mantle of the Ancients returns to the battlefield, return any number of target aura and or equipment cards that could be attached to the enchanted creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. And enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each aura and equipment enchanted to it, or attached to it, sorry. So this is a good way to just recur all of your stuff, and it buffs your creature for each aura and equipment that's attached to it. So this is pretty good. And the last one was Demonic Vigor. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1. When enchanted creature dies, return that card to its owner's hand. So, this is a good little piece of protection for Killian, because people are going to try and kill him because he does so much for the deck. He is the engine that keeps this thing running, like every Precon commander. Now that I think about it, Kaya's Ghost Form does pretty much the same thing. When enchanted creature dies or is put into exile, return that to the battlefield under your control. Another piece of protection to keep Killian from going bye-bye. Now we're going to also want Retether. It's 4 mana for a sorcery. Return each aura card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Only creatures can be enchanted this way. This is probably the second best aura recursion spell in Magic the Gathering. This is probably the number one. Now, once again, I'm not telling you to proxy cards, but I'm not telling you to proxy cards. Replenishes 4 mana, return all enchantment cards from your graveyard into play. So instead of just getting auras, this gets everything in this list back onto the battlefield. Again, I wouldn't condone proxying things, but if you did it, I would understand. Sarah's Sanctum is a legendary land. Tap it to add 1 white mana for each enchantment you control. So that's a pretty good chunk of mana right there. And then I feel like every white deck could probably find room for Teferi's Protection. I think we all know what it does. 3 mana, instant. Until your next turn, your life total can't change, and there you gain protection from everything. All permanents you control phase out. This is, without a doubt, the best protection spell in the game. And then we'll add in some staple removal cards like Swords of Plowshares. It would be helpful if I could spell and speak. So, Swords of Plowshares and Path to Exile, they both exile a target creature. Deadly Relic is another good add. I like having a few pieces of targeted removal. We have a board wipe. I'd probably add in a second board wipe, like Winds of Abandon. Just in case there's something that just can't be destroyed, you can just get rid of the entire board. And then Open the Armory is a pretty good tutor. It lets us search for an aura or an equipment, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Enlightened Tutor is another good tutor for our deck. I know that these cards are expensive, but I am going to try to keep this within bracket 3. There are no infinite combos. I only have a few tutors in the deck. Admittedly, Light Pods can tutor multiple times, but and then to finish it off, I'd probably put in Generous Gift, just in case I have to destroy like an artifact or an enchantment. Same with Get Lost. Just some more permanent removals. Urza's Saga is another land I always put in to my decks. Shadowy Backstreet. Gonna take Generous Gift. I was going to take those two out for more lands. We'll put in a Hall of Heliod's Generosity. And how's our... We'll do one more planes. All right, so this is more or less what I would be running with. We have dumped all the creatures and all the enchantments that did not directly benefit auras or our Voltron strategy in some way. We've upped our aura count and added in some more aggressive auras. We've upped our removal and added in a few tutors. You might want to adjust the land count. 36 might be a little bit low, but I think this is a good starting point for what Killian wants to do. I have not put in the most powerful cards that I possibly could. I'm sure I could run Necropotence or Ad Nauseam or something like that and make this deck even more powerful. And I do think that some of these cards in the maybe board, you could substitute them out. You certainly don't need expensive cards like Sarah's Sanctum. I'm really just showing you like the high end of what I think this Aura Voltron deck could look like. But I have played this deck a few times, and I am happy with the results that I got with it. If you like what you see here, feel free to leave a comment, subscribe, all that stuff. These are just ideas that I have. This is by no means the end all be all for what this deck can do. Thank you all for watching, and have a good one.